All right. Hello, everyone. This is MG, and welcome to the Reimagine You Lab podcast. And you guys know how we do in here. This is the place where mighty change makers come and hang out because this is what we like to do. You know that change is only a choice, and we have fun making change and hearing about how change has changed the landscape and the lives of people that do it and do it well. And so before we jump in today, y'all know what I like. I like to tell you thank you so much for tuning in, and make sure that if you have not already hit the subscribe button, please do, because you guys have done such an amazing job. You guys have gotten us over our 10,000 subscriber mark on IG. Thank you so very much for that. I appreciate y'all. And thank you for tuning in on YouTube and anywhere that you listen to podcasts. I appreciate y'all. Thank you. And make sure that you are sharing. Share with your friends, your family, your colleagues, your peers, anybody who can tune in, because sometimes you just need to know what somebody else did to make a difference in their life and how you might be able to do something similar, even if it's something different, because if you want something different, sometimes you got to do something different. So if you hear something, if there was a nugget that gets dropped, because I'm telling you, Miss T does some moving and shaking. I mean, like literally moving and shaking. Y'all go hear about it today. But sometimes you got to move and shake, and sometimes somebody needs just a little nudge. So go ahead and share this with them. If you hear something, she say something, share it with them so that they can do that little moving nudge that they need so that they can make a change. So Thank you for doing what y'all do every week. So thank you. I appreciate you. So y'all want to know who is in the lab today? Y'all know it is none other than Miss T. Sandiford. Hey, how are you today?
I'm wonderful. Thank you kindly. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Girl, I am so excited for you to be here too. But before we get really rolling, for real, you have got to tell folks who you be. So we go beyond the bio when you come into the lab. So tell them who you are, where you at, what you do, how you do it, if you don't mind.
I don't mind. And sometimes when people ask me that question, it's mildly challenging just because of the depth and the breadth that I've done and I do. And I don't say that by way of arrogance. It's just that I do a great deal. I've done a great deal, and I aspire to do even more. But truly, I'm a kid that grew up in poverty in Richmond, California. That's one of the ghettos. I came through West Oakland, and shy kid, really. And I grew up single mom, 6 kids. And my only goal when I was younger was to grow up and be rich so I can do something special for other people. And there's no real roadmap for that. You get the people that tell you go to college. You get the people that tell you get a job, get a real job. I've heard that a billion times. So what I've done, by way of entrepreneurship, is I've taken the very small seed of hip hop dance, and I've built an empire out of that. So we have right now an organization that services in excess of 200,000 youth nationally and growing. We teach young people anything from dance to media arts to entrepreneurship and their families, financial wellness. I think being able to not make money, but keep the money and grow the money that you make, and being very frugal in how you use Absolutely. It, I think is important, because that's what shifts the trajectory of your life and your children's life and your children's life. So we do a great deal of that. If you're looking for something by way of accolades, I am on a Forbes list. The 50 California nominated me and voted me Woman of the Year just a bit ago. I am also the founder of California's Day of Dance. That's an actual statewide dance day for the state of California. And again, my organization and our programs populate every single major school district in the state of California, the top 3 and counting, and then across the country. Right now, our headquarters is in Sacramento, California, but we're also in San Diego, Fresno, expanding to Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma, Philadelphia, Harlem, New York, and Atlanta, Georgia. I get to employ people, I get to mentor people, I get to develop people, and I get to launch people. We have talent that works with A-list entertainers like Beyonce, Chris Brown, Rihanna, Jennifer Lopez, Britney Spears, Selena Gomez. The list is very, very long, and they do anything from dance to movies to commercials to media to being influencers on social media. And then they come home and they help me pull out the next batch of them and raise them up so that they can also shift the trajectories of their lives. I get to call this my job, but it's really not. It's really why I'm here and why I'm wired the way I'm wired. So ultimately, in a nutshell, if you need a bio, I am a public servant and I get to serve people. And I consider it a tremendous blessing that I get to call this my life.
Yay. Listen, girl, all that. And that's, you know what? That's amazing though. And they say that if you do something you love, it's not, you don't work a day in your life, right?
Nope.
That's amazing. T, and you know what? You said you from Richmond, California. I lived 1 year in Richmond, California as a kid.
So you know.
Yeah. I won't date myself and tell you what years it was, how many years ago it was, but it was a long time ago. But I'm familiar with Richmond, California, and girl, you have built an empire. But you've done it and you are helping other people to do it too. Young people, and they need that. They need mentors that come from the cities that they come from and from the places that they live so that they can see that it's possible.
Well, they also need mentors that are willing to go where they are today. I think that there's a crazy expectation that if you want to learn and grow or have advantage, that you have to go where people that have the ability to level you up are. I disagree with that. I think that once you level up in life, it's your responsibility to go back and help the people that don't have the ability or the capacity to come to you. And I'm grateful for things like social media. YouTube was one of the first platforms that we used to leverage the playing field and entertainment for my talent. We didn't have money. My kids didn't have money for plane tickets to go do auditions and stuff. So I learned how to make videos and I would send them to casting directors and our kids would get gigs that way. And so I know what it means for someone to come to you, grab you by the hand, or at least offer their hand to you and walk you through the process of transforming your lives. And I think that, again, we're in the lab today talking about change and reimagining. I think that we have to change the way we serve people. We have to change the way we think people can grow and graduate. Every time I got it presented with an EBT card or food stamps or some free food program, I don't want your free food. I want to learn how to make money so I can buy my food. And so that was always a challenge for me growing up, is that no one would teach me how to get to a better lifestyle, but they would pacify me where I was at. So I just was determined that I'll go to the people and I'll help the people graduate.
Yeah, no, I love that. You know what? And we need more people like that doing those types of things. And you're absolutely right. You know what? How do I go back and bring other people up? Like people, it shouldn't be a requirement that they have to get to me. How do I go back? Like that's a key point. That is so critical. You know what? When you talk about having an organization where you have served 200,000 plus young people, 200,000 plus young people.
That was during COVID. It's technically closer to 800 over the past 37 years of me doing this, but I just give that number because sometimes it's a little challenging for people to wrap their minds around how a person can do that. So
listen, you about to hit 1 million people.
That's the goal.
Yeah. So talk to us, T, about when you were thinking about this, and a lot of times you just start doing stuff, I'm sure, because most of the people that I mean, you just start and then all of a sudden you've hit these type of numbers, right? So how did you get started? Where did it start at?
Organizationally, I started when I relocated from the Bay Area to Sacramento. Is a much more conservative city, so they didn't have like a lot of the cultural programs that I was used to in the Bay. You could always find an African dance class or somebody doing some hip hop, some steps somewhere at the park. And that's how I grew up. We didn't have money for dance classes, and no one was coming to our community to build nothing because we didn't have the money to pay for it. And so me and my siblings and peers from school, we would find ourselves at a park which had been abandoned and extremely unkept. So there was no structures for us to play on, but it was free space. And so we would learn the dance steps that we saw on Fame or MTV. Michael Jackson. There wasn't an entertainer in our realm, Soul Train. We got up every Saturday morning to watch the cartoons, and then we watched Soul Train. And that was my dance class for many, many years. So we would then go back and gather and teach each other the steps. And I just was always the one who could get it and then teach it. So I've been doing this since 7. And then when I relocated to Sacramento, I was looking for something. And by then I was married with 2 little girls, and I didn't want them to grow up without that same richness of experience. Culturally, hip hop that's just our thing. And so I couldn't find anything. And so I started volunteering at dance studios, churches, community centers, anywhere where someone would let me do it for free, just so that I could engage with kids. Again, that was I was accustomed to it. And so then I had a slight challenge with someone that I was volunteering with. They told me, don't ever come back. We're good without you, that whole bit. And I said, I didn't quite understand it, but in hindsight and with years and experience under your belt, there was some level of threat around the popularity of what I was doing. So they weren't paying me and I was volunteering. So anyhow, bottom line, I ended up in a park with 4 little kids in the summertime in Sacramento, and summer in Sacramento is very hot. And every week that number would grow. And I didn't advertise. I didn't market. I still really don't advertise or market. The kids talk to each other, and then we find ourselves surrounded by them. And so I started with 4 kids in a park, a boombox, and about $5 in my pocket. And I was just able to teach them pop dance. And then we started doing things like competitions, and dance shows became a big thing. And then I realized I was onto something just because of some of the successful outcomes that some of our graduates were having. They were winning things like contracts with major brands. They were also winning shows like So You Think You Can Dance. We have a So You Think You Can Dance winner. And so I knew I was onto something. And I told myself, okay, you have 2 choices, T. You can continue this as a hobby, or you can take this seriously and really serve people. And so I took the latter and invested everything that I had by way of money into Studio T, and continue to do that every day, time, talent, and resources. And it's created some outcomes for a lot of our families that they just didn't know how they were going to get to until our paths merged.
Yeah, that's amazing. That is amazing. So what are who are some of the biggest influences in the hip hop dance community whose paths you've crossed with? Like who were some of those folks that you were like they were somebody amazing, and then now those are your peers?
Yeah. I would say 2 in particular. I just got chills, but 2 in particular. Miss Debbie Allen. She's been my dance hero since I was 7 years old. She's been my dance sensei, my teacher through Fame and the multitude of things she's done. So I did get to meet her for the first time. Her architects became my architects. So the same architects that just finished building her facility in Los Angeles, her and Miss Shonda Rhimes' facility, are again, divine alignment. I met them at a Forbes event, and they said they were looking for another project. They did not reveal to me that the previous project that they just finished was Miss Debbie Allen's. And so they surprised me by taking me to tour her facility. We didn't know she would be there. And as we were preparing to leave, she pulled up. I swear I had it. I'm fighting not to get teary eyed, but it's a thing when you have 40 years of looking up to this person. They're walking toward you. So I love dance classes. Like I never took dance, but my voice is like hers when I teach. The passion is like hers. So she's been a mentor of mine without really knowing me for decades. And so I would say absolutely Debbie Allen. And then another, like you mentioned, they've become peers, is Pop and Pete, Timothy Solomon. If you're into breakdance, anything like that, he was in the movies Break-In, and he was Michael Jackson's personal choreographer and trainer. They actually lived with Michael Jackson for a couple of years as he was redeveloping himself. So everything that you see in the Beat It, Billie Jean realm, when he started popping,
I remember his name. Yeah.
Pete, that was my guy. So anyhow, he's definitely someone, and our paths crossed getting on the competition circuit. It was just hip hop and all that stuff was just coming out. So they were really trying to figure out, how do you create a competition out of this stuff? And so he was one of the judges, as one of the founders of the what people is mainstream movement today. He started it with his brother Boogaloo Sam. And so anyhow, just those two for sure have been mentors of mine. And when I first met Pete, we started talking and he's like, I feel like I know you. I said, well, I certainly know you. I have studied. And so if it feels like we know each other, it's because I know you. So I would offer that those two for sure have been heroes of mine for quite some time.
Wow, that is amazing. You know what, when I think about, like, when you do this type of work, when you're passionate about something, and that's what I get from you. You don't teach and train nearly 500,000 people. You've exceeded that already, right? Like you're well on your way to 1 million students under your belt already. But there's you take this seriously. Like this is real. Like this is not a game. This is, when you talk about, hey, I've built an empire with this. This is what I do. I'm teaching not only hip hop dance, but entrepreneurship, financial freedom, really, for families, for students, for their families. There's a skill and there's an art to this. So talk about, like, what kind of training regimen do you follow to stay on top of the game that you even train and put into your students? Like, what do you tell them? How do you teach and train?
Well, first, I think it's important to note that this is not just a dance class for a lot of them. This is the difference between life and death. We're dealing with a different brand of kid today than we dealt with, let's say, 20, 30, 40 years ago when I was growing up. You have a conflict, you fight it out. And if you get beat up on the playground, be better next time. But you got handled. But now it's different. You could get, it could cost you, a conflict could cost you your life. Right. And so for a lot of our kids, it's not just a pastime or a hobby. It's become workforce development. It's become career. It's become safety in the right circle. And it's leveraging a lot of the tools that are used as weapons against the kids that are growing up today. So when a young person enters our space or we enter their space, we all, as a team, my staff, we all have the same heart. We understand that we're going into sometimes very hostile territory. And the objective is to gift our kids with an arsenal of weaponry that they can survive the moment that they live in. And so when you think dance class is not just something that's for fun or for physical fitness. It's become something that's for a career. Dance is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and certain people are capitalizing on it, but not the people that are creating it. And so I like to shift that a bit, and then being able to supply them with their basic needs. Some of our families have to make hard choices, like, do I buy food or do I buy deodorant and toothpaste? Or do I get shoes or do I pay my bills, or are we sleeping in the car this month? So they have to make some of those sorts of choices. So we just make sure that if we show up, we're going to eliminate some of those harder decisions. Like, we're going to have food. We're going to make sure your basic needs are met. Like, we got toothpaste and toothbrushes. I can find that. Hair stuff. Certain communities, they lock in certain products up because they're Black products and they get taken because we don't have the money. So I make sure that that's not a concern and they can concentrate on developing their craft, whether it's movie making or content creation. So again, when we're in atmosphere and we're training, it's like, I don't allow them to live in boxes. There's no walls, there's no ceilings. And these are things that I learned over time. Like, we were taught growing up that there's limit. I'm still challenged by that with people in my field, other executives or people in banking, people in real estate, just buying 44,000. When you purchase an entire city block, I can't tell you the resistance that came with something like that. I'm a Black female CEO. Everybody couldn't understand how someone like me could do that. But that's because I'm constantly teaching people, like, there's no limit for you. There's limit for you. There's no limit for me. And so I had to learn that the hard way. And I make sure that is not something, that practice of thinking is not something that becomes cemented in my young people, because then they'll stay in their 10-mile block, which is not always a good thing. I tell them, you need to go see the world so you can expand. So when we're teaching them anything, any discipline, it's always coupled with strengthening their thinking so that they have a different lifestyle, not just a different career style. In
Right.
addition to that, taking the pressure of some of the things off of them that could potentially exhaust their resources, because sometimes they just don't have a lot. And we found
Right.
that implementing that recipe of things has been the game changer for, again, thousands of kids. And some just need a baby, yes, you can do it, go. Other ones,
Yeah.
grab them by the hand, hug them all the time, walk them through the process, wipe all their tears, and then push them out of the nest. So it's a
Yeah.
different process for every student, but it is a process for the students, just so that they can see the greatness that they're capable of. Sometimes you just need somebody to remind you.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. You know what? And that sometimes we do have to imagine. Like we have to be reminded to imagine that what you see is that there's something beyond what you see.
Yep, you're right. You
Like
are right.
there's more. There's more. And we need people doing that all the time. Like all the time. You know what? So talk to me a little bit about when you think what instilled that in you. Was did you have a mom or dad that was like, hey babe, there's more than what you see right here? Or was that something internal? Was that for you? Because sometimes it has to be external. And then but for some people it's an internal thing. Like, hey,
I think it
what
was
was
both,
okay.
actually. I mean, when you grow up in atmospheres like I've had to grow up in, and then your siblings and family members and people around you are getting arrested or ending up in jail or dying because we have to live where we have to live,
Right.
I think it develops a fight in you to survive better. And so
Yeah.
I would say that was definitely a thing. And then I had a coach that showed up in my life as a pastor,
Mhm.
and he could see something in me. It's like, I hardwired to be very shy person. I know sometimes people think that the opposite, but I have to be forced publics most often. But
Okay.
he could see something in me, and he would constantly encourage me and tell me what he saw when he looked at me. And I think he showed up in my life during a stretch of time when I was in a very, very low place. I had invested everything into my company, and then the bottom fell out of the economy. And when I say I lost everything, I lost everything. My house, my marriage, my building that my company was in. I ended up living in a hotel with my kids, not knowing where I was going to go. We were truly, truly homeless. And he shows up in my life through an invitation from a friend to a workshop. So I would offer definitely interior, because again, once you start having kids of your own and investing in kids, the last thing you want is to fail in a way that it compromises their potential to have a better life. And then exteriorly is like, I didn't know what steps to take sometimes. And my mentor, his name is Bill Krause. He's already transitioned and gone to heaven. But sometimes it was having someone that you can lean on when you get stuck in a process. And he was very, very good at helping me get unstuck when I got stuck in processes. And most often the processes were me not knowing the fullness of what I was capable of because of all the limits that had been placed on me by other people. Everybody is very good at telling you what you're not. Most often, very few people that tell you what you are in a way that causes you to become it. And he was just very good at that for me.
Yeah. You know what? Having those people. I tell people all the time, sometimes everybody needs a coach.
Yeah.
Some type of a coach, a mentor, somebody that can turn that light on for you and
Yeah.
help you keep that light on.
Yep.
Like you need that. It's hard to do it by yourself. There are those days where we get stuck, we get tired, we get burnt out, like it goes dark sometimes, and you need somebody that can help you pull out of it and see you some and help you see a little further down the line. So
There
no,
you
I
go.
love that. I love that. So that's good. I love that. And I love that you do that you turn now and do that for so many others.
Yeah, that's how it's supposed to be though, right? Like we're
Yeah,
not supposed to get access to a door and then close the door behind us. I don't believe that's right. I don't even think that's human nature. I
it
think
is.
that if you're gifted wisdom, knowledge, understanding, and it converts to success, I think it then becomes your responsibility to share it with other people. And a
Oh,
lot of people don't
absolutely.
practice that, but I do think that I think that's a part of what makes us who we are. And I think it's also a requirement for us to navigate the planet. What if the Steve Jobs, the Walt Disneys, those are two people that I study intensely, but
Yeah.
what if they kept all of their stuff to themselves? We wouldn't have the legacy of their lives today, which everybody uses every day. They just don't know it.
Everybody uses every day. I live in Tampa, Florida, and I'm telling you, like we use all of it. We
Mm.
use it. We use all of it. We use all of it. When you think about, I always ask people the question, what was the biggest change that you would attribute that changed you? Biggest
Losing,
change
losing,
that changed you.
losing everything. It changed what I thought success was. It changed what
Mm-hmm.
I thought what
Mm-hmm.
purpose was. Losing
Yeah.
everything, having nothing, landing flat on your face at the bottom of life, having to do something that you said you'd never do. I had to get back on welfare. And I said I would never be on welfare because I grew up on welfare. But losing everything, I think, was the biggest change because it caused me to change. It caused my
Yeah.
thinking to change because it caused how I showed up in other people's lives. I'm a dramatically different person as a result of experiencing extreme loss and
Mm-hmm.
then confusion and then severe fog in direction. And
Yeah.
and I would also offer that that's also when I met Jesus.
Yeah.
And I learned that prayer actually works. And I
Yes.
learned that there are miracles that happen all around us every single day. And
Yeah.
they're designed to capitalize on those and live a better life. And that there's something bigger and better and badder than me. And all I have to do is ask for help and I get help. And I discovered that at the bottom. And had I not lost everything, I mean, when I say I was stripped of everything. And it wasn't by way of purpose from any human. I just believe it was a series of choices that a well-meaning lady was making when she was trying to do a good thing, but she did it at the wrong time. And then she did it at a time when she didn't have the development necessary to sustain. And so it caused me to change in a way that has lent to the scale of growth that I'm experiencing today. What I can handle today, I could not handle yesterday. And I
Yeah.
have to be able to have the strength, mental strength, physical strength and emotional strength today to do what I do. So when you talk about a schedule and you talk about a how, there's no way I could do what I do if I didn't experience the depth of change that I experienced in the bottom of the pit.
Yeah. You know what? And that's a lot of it, because there's some lessons that you have to learn,
Yeah.
and that you will only learn by depth of experience.
Yep.
But after you have learned that lesson, then you can come back, and there's some things that you can do. There's some shoulders, there's some width to your shoulders, there's
Yep.
some depth to your knowledge, there's some grit that you have gained.
Yep.
That without it, there's only so high that you could go.
Yeah. And then there's a
But
confidence that you develop
absolutely.
in how you can evolve through change. I mean, storms come, so you
Yeah.
can't stop a storm, but you can get stronger as a result of the storm. You can get innovative and creative as a result of living
Yes.
through the storm. And most people want to board up and avoid a storm instead of
Right.
looking it in its eye and gaining every potential and every lesson, every
Yes.
resource out of a storm that a storm has. And most people don't like that. Most people don't want to
Yeah.
do that. And
Yeah.
I've learned, because Hurricane Katrina has hit at least 47 times, that there's blessing in that. There's growth in that. There's innovation and invention in that. When
Yeah.
you're recovering and restoring and regrowing and redeveloping and then settling into a new norm, a new level,
Yeah.
there's so
Yeah.
much potential that again, when you say reimagine, what happens when a storm hits you? You got to
Right.
think about life completely differently now.
Right.
And that there's so much to that, and in that most people, because they try to avoid it, they don't get the growth and
The value out of
after
it.
going through it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, come on, girl. Yeah, that's some serious stuff.
I'm
right
always
there.
up for a good fight, man.
Listen, you know what? And hey, you better because of it. You're better because of it. You better
I like
because
to
of
think
it.
so anyways.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So let's talk about, with everything that you're going, you had mentioned you've got a new space now that you guys have got a whole city block. So talk
Yeah.
about that a little bit, T. What's in there? What are you doing in all this space?
Oh my gosh, there's so much going on. So I acquired, again, a city block, which makes up a collection of 4 commercial buildings, 2 levels. And so I have I have multiple podcast studios, multiple dance studios. We have a black box theater. We have a banquet hall. We have a movie theater. We have an actual movie theater in here. I got a lot of kids that make movies. We have a hair shop. Like, I like to keep my young people, especially in the summertime and the ones that do sports and stuff like that. It's expensive to keep your hair done. So I like to keep braiders on deck. We have a 2-story full culinary kitchen. We have 3 kitchenettes and commercial broadcast kitchen. That's a big deal for us. We have a meal prep academy. We have a side hustle academy. We have a DJ academy. We have, again, movie studios. I'm sitting in one of our recently developed podcast studios. And then we have a space where we rent to other creatives that are more established in their craft. So we have a way to feed our young people as we're training and developing them in the incubator of Studio T Arts. We have companies that we can feed them into so they can start their internship and building connections and building relationships. So we have a music studio, we have beat making studios, we have a young man who does editing for movie houses like DreamWorks and Disney. We have content creators, vetted content creators for Disney. We also have young people that have been to the White House and work directly with the communications department, developing content for them. So the ultimate goal is, I call it the innovation factory. And the goal is, in my mind, my training and my thinking and believing is, anything you can do once, you can do twice. Anything you can do twice, you can make a habit out of it. And so we've made a habit out of developing and launching extreme talent that's changing the industries that they're being launched into. And so this has become the Studio T Arts Entertainment Innovation Factory, where our young people really truly have everything that they need. Oh, we also have a merch making facet of the building. So they make the t-shirts and sweatshirts and hoodies and things like that. And that's very popular for a lot of the online entrepreneurship that our kids do. So anyway, the goal is that they could come in here, realize what their artistry is, or their talent is, or their gifting is, and then lean into it and have all the tools and technology to develop it, and then launch into a career and hopefully make a difference in the world.
That's amazing. I love that. You know what? Entrepreneurship is critical now. Like, it's like, because every student isn't necessarily going to take the college path or the route that, like, every route. Yeah, it's not linear. And some of them, that's just not what they want to do. It's not their lane. And so it's great that there is these different paths that they can take. And hey, here is a way for them to cultivate it. I love that. I love what you're doing. I love all of that.
So many times, get a real job, T. And so I really set out to dispel the idea that this creativity is not a real job. It's such a real job, and it's a rewarding and real job. And I want to also add, one of the major reasons I bought this building is it was used for the county's probation department, where they were working on youth recidivism. For the kids that would come out of the juvenile hall, they would come to this very building, and they would teach them, they would do their drug testing, and they would teach them how to interview and how to make a resume and things like that. And I said, I'm challenged by the fact that they offer these services, but only after they're coming out of the hall. And so one of the poetic reasons that I wanted to buy this building is to take the same idea, put it on steroids, and amplify it. Never ever get into the hall. In fact, I go into the juvenile hall and I work with the girls there in the girls units every week, so that when they graduate, and we call it boarding school. So when they graduate from boarding school, they have a place to go to develop themselves, so they never have to go back to that boarding school. And so again, this is what used to be here. And so again, my reasoning for this is dual. It's definitely to prepare and train and develop and launch, but also prevent.
Yeah, I love it. Well, you know what? Well, we definitely, with the work and stuff that you're doing with students and these young people and all of that, I am sure that there are some ways that you guys could utilize more mentors, support, and give. How can other people be part of what it is that you guys are doing there? You want to share?
Awesome question. Yeah. So again, when you're working with hundreds of thousands of youth, of course, there's me and my team, but we're always open to other good-hearted, well-meaning people that just want to give their time, their talents, and their resources. So 3 ways that we do ask for help is, number one, if you think what we're doing is valuable and it might be helpful to someone, share about what we're doing and get more kids access to what we're doing. We're in multiple cities on purpose. Secondly is we're always in need and very grateful for funding. Funding's a very big part of how we're able to make things happen, especially because we do deal with a lot of kids that have basic needs, entire families that have basic needs. And then we need to keep the lights on, the AC on, and make sure they have the right technology and equipment, and so that they're able to compete in the marketplace with everybody else that has regular access to some of these tools. And so funding is always super important. And then the third thing is show up, be present. Volunteerism is a big component that we leverage, and we're always doing something, whether it's a pop-up that teaches our young people the culinary arts, an event to keep them safe off the streets on Friday nights and Saturday nights, or a class. If you have an expertise in a realm and you find that it might be valuable to our young people, we're so super open to partnerships and alignments and volunteerism. It just makes all the difference in the world, and it gives us the capacity to serve more.
Absolutely. Well, we definitely want to make sure that you guys get involved. You guys make sure that you check out T. Definitely volunteer, mentor. You guys lend your gifts to the Innovation Factory. Check out T. Make sure that you can find them at studiotarts.org. We'll have the link and everything at the bottom of the show notes. So make sure that you guys check them out. T, it has been a pleasure having you in the lab today. I thank you for dropping by. Now, before I let you get out of here, I always ask every guest before they leave, give us 2 to 3 things that you would share with any change maker, because we can't let you leave without doing that, because change is what we do. Change is just a choice. So 2 to 3 things that you would share before you get out of here for change making.
Sure. Well, number one is there's no such thing as I can't. There's only I won't. Remember, there's a difference. Most people say I can't, but I think you can. I think you can do anything. Secondly is hard work always pays off. If you work hard at anything, the ultimate outcome is you will accomplish whatever it is you're trying to accomplish, but you got to work at it. And the third thing is I believe prayer works. And I believe that most people don't have what they want and what they need in life is because they don't ask. You have not because you ask not. I ask for everything and I don't have a problem asking for it. So again, I would say there's no such thing as I can't. I would say that you can do anything, work at it. And I would also offer ask, never be afraid to ask.
Absolutely. T, my dear, thank you so much.
Thank you.
This has been a pleasure. Everybody, thank you so much. I appreciate you for coming in to the lab. If you have not, make sure you hit the subscribe button so that you can get every episode, every Friday drops here. I will see you the next time. My sweet T, pleasure, my dear. I will have to bring you back again, girl.
Whenever you're ready, boss, I'm ready.
I'll see you here again, girl.
Okay, thank you. Bye, everybody.